Hello and welcome to your Team DSI Advanced Leadership webinar. I want to acknowledge you for being one of the best in Team DSI and in USANA, taking time out of your week to do personal development. And before we get started with our special guest today, I want to remind you of 10 things to expect when you build your business. Number one, there's going to be ups and downs, just like anything. You're going to have good days and bad days. Number two, success or failure is up to you. Your success is not because of your upline, or your failure is not because of your upline. It's all up to you. Number three, the goal is for you to become independent and for you to be able to work your business and be that leader for your team. Number four, plan, do, and review. This is one I've lived by for the entire 12 years that I've been in. You make your plan, you do it, and you see how it worked, and you redo it and review. Number five, it's going to take time. It's going to take 1 year to become competent. It's going to take 3 years to create a significant part-time income. It's going to take 5 years to become a significant earner and 7 years to be world-class. And that's just the reality. So give yourself time and be patient and stick with it. Number six, it takes consistent work and hustle for sure. Number seven, you're going to have to grow and get outside of your comfort zone. Absolutely. Number eight, you're going to have to improve your skills every day. Personal development, that is literally the key. Action and personal development. Number nine, focus. Every day, getting in your little time working your business. That's how it's done, in the nooks and crannies. Right, Colette?
That's right.
Number 10, mental toughness. It takes mental toughness, man. Sometimes you don't have a good day, or you don't have a good prospect, or someone quits, and you got to be mentally tough and carry on. And these are very important things for your business. And so the last thing before we get into our special guest is always remember that amateurs sell products, professionals sell the vision. When you have clients, make sure you invite them to this webinar. Show them what USANA can do for their entire life, not just their health, but also get your clients to events and things that they can see the vision of USANA. That's really, really important. And today we are very, very blessed to have a dear friend and USANA legend on the line, Foundation Executive 10-Star Diamond Director Collette Larsen. She has been the #1 USANA income earner worldwide for 10 years in a row. I don't remember the exact 10 years, but that's like such an accomplishment. It's like amazing what you've done, Collette, and we're honored to have you. This call was 2 years in the making. I think I've been asking you for about 2 years, and I am like so pumped about this call. So thank you for being available. I know you're very busy. You have a lot of things going on, and been retired from USANA, from working your USANA business for quite some time. But we're really honored that you're here today, and I'm so excited to hear your story. We want to hear what it was like when you started, what your life was like before USANA, some of the challenges. You have your notes from the 90s, I guess, you're going to share with us. And then we'll open it up at about 12:20 or 22, 23 for questions. So without further ado, Collette, welcome to the call.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jared. Yes, I do basically one call a year, and this is my call for 2017. So
love it.
I really, I loved your list there. And a few years into my USANA business, I decided to give it 20 years. I know people say work really hard for a year, and that's what I would say when I started. And then I realized this is my career. I'm going to give this 20 years. And I really did work joyfully, but very consistently for over 20 years, about 20 years. And I'm going into 25 years. That's crazy to me. But the last few years, you're right. I have been, I guess, what you'd call, I always say retire is what you do to a car. You retire your car, put new car tires on. But I have really stepped back. I'm very fortunate, as you know, as most of you on this call may know, that my two sons, Dax and Zachary Ross, I took in as partners years ago. So they're still, and they're in their mid-40s. So they're still, going full steam ahead. But I really have stepped back, and I'm just enjoying the fruits of my labors at this point. But Jared asked me to take take you back to when I started USANA, and I said, I can hardly, that's 25 years ago. I could hardly remember. My sons are older than I was when I started USANA, but fortunately, even before blogging became popular, I kept a journal. So this morning I went back and found my journal from 1999 and my to-do list. So in a few minutes, I'll share what I was doing then, but I don't know who's on this call, and Jared, I don't know the makeup of your team, but I just want you to know, wherever you are in life's journey, and I'm kind of hoping there's a single mother on this call with a bunch of kids with a high school education, because that was me. I was a single mom. I didn't go to college. I did have a high school education, but I had no experience. I had no references. I had no funds. I didn't, all the things you think you would need to become a successful career person or a successful business person, I just didn't have that resume. But I did have something, and that was that I was a mother bear, and I was determined to support my children. And I also have always had a great deal of passion. I still listen. You're talking about personal growth. I listen to podcasts every single day. I listened yesterday to one and I hike every day. So as I hike, I listen. And I was hiking with Charlie, Jared, and she said, be sure to tell Jared hi for me. So we were hiking along, and then I listened to my podcast, and I take it off, and I was talking to Charlie about it. And it was Oprah Winfrey talking to Sean Acor. And he was talking about happiness, and they were talking about the glass being half full or half empty. And he said, and I always feel like I've been a glass half full person. I just kind of was born optimistic. And even though I've faced some serious challenges in my life, I've just felt like it's going to be okay. Things are going to be okay. But what he said, I didn't even plan to tell you this, but it's popping into my head because it was so profound to me. He said, it doesn't matter how you see the glass, as long as there's a pitcher right next to that glass, because you have the opportunity to fill it up. So wherever you are on your life's journey, you have that pitcher there. And as far as I'm concerned, that pitcher is filled with USANA, and you can fill that glass up. USANA became a bright, shining star in my life, and it just helped me. Well, it just changed everything about my life. So yes, I was a single mom. I had 5 children. My 2 youngest children were born with a chronic degenerative disease called cystic fibrosis. Now, I could talk the whole half hour. I could talk for hours about CF, but just so you know, it is a terminal disease. It's chronic degenerative, and there's no cure for it. Well, at the time I was introduced to USANA, my youngest daughter, Lexi, was critically ill. And in fact, she had a double lung transplant, and she ended up spending 3 months in the hospital in intensive care. And it was during this time that someone I love and respect so much, my brother, kept telling me about USANA. Actually, he had been telling me about it for a couple of years. He'd been telling me about Dr. Myron Wentz and everything. And I was dealing with this disease that was trying to steal my daughter's life. And no, I can't even think about it right now. But after she had her transplant, she went into rejection. And she was on life support. And it was at this time that my brother, long story again, but I kind of had a breakdown on the phone with him one night. And he flew from Salt Lake to San Diego, and he met me at the hospital. And he went in and spent a little time with my daughter, Lexi, who was, on life support, on a ventilator, and just, they were keeping her alive by machine. And he came out and he said, Coco, just forget USANA. Forget about USANA as a business. I'm so sorry. He just held me, and he said, but I want you to get Charlie on the products. Now, Charlie was just a year older than Lexi, and her lung function had started really declining to the point where the doctors felt like she needed to go on the double lung transplant list as well. So, and then I had these 3 older children that were in high school that, honestly, I don't even know. They raised themselves during those years because I was so focused on my younger girls. So anyway, he said, forget it as a business, get Charlie on the products. If Lexi lives, we'll get her on the products as well. Well, Lexi didn't make it. She didn't survive. She went into rejection, and she passed away. But during that, she lived for another 18 months struggling. But during that time, I believe it or not, I decided to start a business. And even now, Jared, as I think back on it, I think, oh my goodness, how did I do this? But you know what I've come to learn, and maybe this is the takeaway for all of you, is I have really learned that opportunities come at the most inopportune times. And because of that, they're often misinterpreted as distractions. So this seemed like a distraction from my brother, but in reality, it was the greatest opportunity of my life. I mean, it changed my life. And interestingly enough, as Lexi continued to decline, I was building my business like crazy. I started Charlie on all the products, and by the way, she had a tremendous response on the products. Things happened that had never happened in her whole life. As I said, this is a degenerative disease, and her lung function actually improved. Now, it doesn't cure CF, but one of the things with cystic fibrosis is that the body doesn't get the nutrients it needs. The pancreas doesn't work. So by flooding Charlie's body with these products, something remarkable started happening. So that also kicked me in. I went, wow, in fact, I don't have time to tell the whole story, but one specific day was very, very impactful for me. And that's when we saw Charlie's lung function actually improve. And we were so elated about that. And, here she was. What was she? I'm trying to think, maybe 15 years old. And we were driving home from the hospital, and she was bouncing around going, Mom, it has to be USANA. That's the only thing we've done differently. And I turned to her and I said, honey, maybe it's USANA, but maybe it's just an answer to prayer. And she turned and looked at me and she said, Mom, maybe USANA is an answer to prayer. And, I've said now these 25 years, there's those moments that change your life. That was a moment that changed my life because I went, wow. And then I just went full steam ahead. Now, back when I started, Jared said, tell them what you did. And you don't want to build your business the way I did, because that was back in 1995, 96, 97. I found this journal from 1999. And so it was the beginning of the year, 1999. And so I set my intentions. Intention is one of my favorite words. And I set my intentions for that year. So these are the things that I was doing in 1999. Number one, take all my products every single day. Number two, get on the lean program. Now, you don't even know what that is, but we had this lean program. And then I said in parentheses, don't eat anything that says just add water. Good advice. Initiate conversations with everyone I meet. Everywhere I went, I would ask questions. I would give compliments. I would initiate conversations. Listen to all my messages on the USANA voicemail. It's something, again, we don't have anymore. And respond as necessary. Become more educated about our industry. Spend time, 1/2 hour every day reading and studying. That is an intention and that turned into a habit, and I still do that every single day. Memorize the product catalog. Become an expert. And we had this product catalog back then. Again, now everything's online, but I would look at each product and I would read through and I would take a highlighter and I would highlight 1 or 2 sentences about each product, because I knew I couldn't memorize the whole thing. But what I learned is that if I knew one thing about each product and I could say it like I was like this brilliant businesswoman, that's what would stick with people. So, I did that. I memorized a little bit about each product. Add 5 new names to my names list every single day. Put together packets of information to give all my products. Again, my prospects, excuse me. Again, we didn't have the internet back then. Make 5 phone calls every day. At least one appointment. Set one appointment every single day. Learn how to use email. That was a brand new thing to me. Learn how to use email. Learn how to use 3-way calling. I built so much of my business on 3-way calls. Again, that's not something we do so much anymore, but listen to a tape a day. Yes, put that cassette tape in my car and go on a drive. Think of that as your rolling university and listen to a tape. Use fax on demand. Now, can you imagine that? Fax on demand. I bet maybe Randy and maybe your parents, they might remember that. Conduct 1 home meeting every week. I had a meeting in my home every Tuesday evening, And I had it whether anyone came or not, which means that my children listened to a lot of USANA presentations because I said, no matter what, I'm going to do a meeting every week. Eventually, we moved from my home to the Del Mar Hilton, and we just expanded from there. But it got to the point where I had people sitting up and down my stairs. I had this little home in downtown Encinitas, California, and that we would, I mean, it was crazy. People were on the floor, into the kitchen, up the stairs. I mean, it just kept growing, and eventually we said, we've got to move to a hotel. Personally sponsor one person a week and then train my new partners. Well, that sounds like a lot, doesn't it? So before you get discouraged, I want you to know that I did do all those things. I didn't do them all every single day. But another thing that I've really learned about building any business actually is consistency is key. And again, sometimes most opportunities come at inopportune times, right? And so they're misinterpreted as distractions. And so you just have to stay consistent, just doing something every day, except one day a week. I actually took Sundays off. I would tell my children, we don't even say the U word on Sunday because I needed time to fill my own cup before I could give, before I could give to others. So Jared, that's how we did it back in the day. And it was just consistent effort. As long as I kept doing those things, people kept being interested. And I'll tell you another, again, this probably isn't that helpful to you because you wouldn't do it this way now. But I went down to my Albertsons and I got the butcher there to give a big roll of butcher paper. I rolled it up, I took it home, and I took out quarters. This shows you that anybody ought to be able to do this. I made charts, okay? So I started with me. I draw a circle around the quarter, made 3 business center. And then I just kept building that chart way, 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 way out. But then I took the next step. And what I did is I put names in those circles. Names of anyone, I had a names list that was always growing. I was always adding people to it. It didn't matter if it was my UPS driver, my next door neighbor, Charlie's teacher at school, just anybody I could think of. And I just put names in all those circles. This is before I'd ever talked to them. But then, back in the day, I would actually go out and put, I would prospect by initiating conversations. And then we had cassette tapes. We had this crazy old DVD that was not very good, actually, but I still recruited some people with it. I mean, it had, I don't know. I remember it started with like this guy in this sports car driving up to this mansion. And I went, wait a minute. Nobody in USANA has a sports car yet. That was before Jeremy. Nobody has a mansion. I mean, we were just brand new, But I did use that DVD, but I had more success I would actually even put cassette tapes with a please listen to this and call this number post-it note on the cassette tape, and I would sit it on windshields of cars even if I couldn't find someone to give it to. But I would drive around, and again, this is after Lexi was left paralyzed. The drugs that they put her on to have her breathing and everything slow down actually left her paralyzed from the waist down. So I would pick her up and put her in the back of the car, fold up her wheelchair, put it in the trunk, drive around to people that were on my list there, and I would show them this chart and tell them that I was going to build this incredible network right here of people I knew. And this is where they were, and this is where I wanted to put them on my chart, and they could already see that there was all these names underneath them. And I said, these are the people I'm going to contact after I contact you. It was like this visual representation to them of what I was going to do. And I said, but what I'll do though, because I want you to bring in your 2 best friends. It was always based on, you just need 2. We even had a song about that. So I said, before I contact these people that I've got here, why don't we go ahead and put your 2 best friends or 2 people that you think would be awesome, and I'll go with you to talk to them with you. Well, honestly, I think people would see me driving up, and, I would pull the wheelchair out of the car and put Lexi in it, and I'd roll up to their front door and, with this information, will you please listen to this? I don't have a lot of them, so I'll be back tomorrow to pick it up, but I want you to listen to this tape, and here's kind of what I'm envisioning here. And I know I've said this, and I really do believe it's true. Not that I didn't work really hard, I did. I worked very, very hard. I do think that people saw me and thought, what can I do to help that poor woman? I mean, what do you need me to do? Where should I sign? You know? And speaking of signing, back then we had to do our own applications, and I was such a mother hen. I was afraid, because at the bottom it said, you know, where they were to go in your organization. I was so afraid people would mess that up that I'd say, let me just do the paperwork. And so I would fill it all out, have them sign it, then I'd take it over to my mailbox, etc. store and fax it into USANA. Oh my gosh, when I think of what we had to do then to build compared to what's available now, everything's online, everything's so streamlined. It's just, you know, it's just so much easier now than it was then. So Jared, well, I mean, is that kind of what you wanted to hear what it was like?
This is totally amazing. And honestly, like, I think a lot of the things that you shared still do work today, such as hard work and being focused and just giving it your all, you know?
Yeah. And you know, another thing too is that I even though I did work hard, I did it with such joy. I mean, I had so much fun, even though I felt like kind of my life was crumbling around me in some respects, with my, you know, with all the things I was dealing with. I envisioned a better future for my children. And I laughed as much as I cried. I mean, I cried, but I laughed as much as I cried. And I think people felt that I loved, I can't remember exactly what you said, but you're responsible for your own success. Was that one of your, something
Yes.
like that? I just, you know, when I looked in the mirror, I felt like you are my Social Security. That woman right there, that girl right there, that 42-year-old or whatever I was, you know, I'm almost 66 now. So it was, you know, it was a while ago, but I can't rely on anyone but me. And I need to make this happen. Many of you have probably heard the story about when I decided to do USANA. I thought, oh my gosh, with these two sick girls and my teenagers and going through this, I was going through a very, very difficult divorce. I thought, but my brother kept saying, Collette, you need two. So I thought, okay, I've got to find out who the leaders are in San Diego County. And I will just, and he told me there was meetings going on all over the country. I mean, there really weren't, honestly, but he said, you know, I'm sure there's meetings. Well, I called USANA Corporate and I said, I need to know who the leaders are in San Diego. Because I thought if I can get a few friends to go to a meeting, then I can follow up and hopefully sign them up and put one on my left leg and one on my right leg, and, you know, and so I called and asked, and she said, you know, I'm going to have to do some checking and get back to you. And the sweet, you know, customer service rep called me back the next day. And these are her exact words. She says, is this Collette? You're the one that called about the leaders in San Diego? And I said, yes. And she said, you're it. And those words were just so crushing to me. I thought, I don't know anything about business. I have a high school education. You know, who's going to listen to me? But you know, those words actually, once I got over kind of the panic, they were very empowering. And if each of you can look yourself in the mirror and say, you're it. It's Jared and Crystal, you're so fortunate to be part of this dynamic team here. But they're not responsible. I mean, it's wonderful, Jared, that you're doing these, you know, video. I mean, I'm thinking I'm going to start doing this Zoom. I'm loving this, but they are not responsible for your success. You are. And another thing along that line, I remember, so, you know, this started growing in San Diego, and I was initially very, like, you know, I don't know, it was depressing to think that I was it. I wanted someone to help me build. But, you know, at some point, I stood in front of 1,000 people in San Diego and looked out, and I went, you're all in my downline. I was like, wow, you know, this is what can happen. Very, very exciting. So, yes, you are it. Now, things changed over the years. I mean, we gradually didn't use fax on demand anymore. We didn't use USANA voicemail anymore. I was going to tell you, I remember once when, I think it was Dan and Nance Christie, I sponsored them through a guy that I knew that eventually dropped out, but he brought in Dan and Nance. So, and their organization, they started bringing people, and I eventually was doing meetings in their home. And at one point, they wanted to break away from the Larsen team. And I remember just really, my feelings were so hurt. And because I didn't get that that's exactly what you want everybody to do. You know, they started Wealth Invest. It was Wealth Investors National or something, I can't remember, network. And they started wearing their own pins and everything. I was like, wait, I'm your leader, you know? And then you go, no. And then I saw that team just take off once they kind of did. And then eventually it would all come together. And then other teams started. And that's exactly what you want to have happen. But, you know, I'd never done this before. I didn't have any experience industry. I didn't have any, you know, well, I sold clothes at my dad's store when I was growing up. But I didn't have any experience in this type of thing. So that whole idea of building your own organization and eventually breaking off and then watching that happen in your downline, that's exactly what you want to have happen. So yes, over the years, things have changed dramatically. Honestly, I don't even know what my sons are doing now. I know Dax currently is running a reset contest, I think. You know, I don't, they just kind of, in fact, it got to the point a few years ago that Zach, many of you probably know you don't know Dax very well because he's kind of behind the scenes. He's my financial guy and he does our website and everything. But Zach is the one that's kind of up in front and does still meets and speaks and all that. But it came to the point a few years ago, Zach said, I think when I asked him what a link was or something like that. He goes, Mom, listen, this is what I want you to do. You just keep telling your stories and loving and hugging people and we'll handle the rest. So that's kind of, you know, they really did take over the day-to-day operation of the business. And it's a good thing because we've gone very, very high tech. So, you know, that's kind of what's going on now. So my life now, Jared said, let me share. I live the life I dreamed of. I always said, you know, doing things, making memories was much more important to me than having things. So, you know, I mean, I'm still, in all my years at USANA, let's see, I think I'm on it's 25 years. I'm on my third car. My car I drive right now I got it in 2006. It's a 2007 Lexus. I still love it. We did upgrade one home. You know, we're in a little, but I bought an old home and fixed it up. And we recently, a couple years ago, we bought a little townhome on Lake Tahoe. So now we spend our time, half the time in San Diego, half the time at Lake Tahoe. Rough life, right? But, you know, we got a beautiful, in fact, my Revy, I named my lab Revy after Rev 3, my favorite drink. How are we doing on time? I tend to just talk.
We're doing great. Keep going.
You just jump in. I don't see my time on my computer, and here it is on my computer. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're out of time. Anyway, my dog turned, my little Revy turns 4 years old today, so we're gonna have a little birthday party for her. So basically what I do, I hike, I kayak, I spoil my grandchildren. I'm back in San Diego now. I have 16 grandchildren, and I do my best to just say I'm your grandmother, but I'm really your fairy godmother. My name is Grandma Coco. So Friday, Zach and Kelly and their 5 children are coming down, and I'm taking them all to Coco. I've already taken all the other grandkids to Coco, you know, the movie. So I do things like that. Last summer, we have 5 grown children and their children. So we took them all to Hawaii. We spent 2 weeks. I'm able to put them each in a condo. And we have a place on, you know, timeshares on Kauai that we go and spend. They all come up to Tahoe and hike with us. My life is an absolute dream. Right after I get off this, my brother Randy, who I used to do the lean program with, is coming in, and we're going out to lunch together. So I volunteer on the Tahoe Rim Trail Association. Rick and I go build trails. I mean, that is what I love. In January, I'm doing my one last tour for USANA. I'm spending January in Australia and New Zealand because it's their 20-year celebration. And they said, Colette, because I moved to Australia for a year back in I think it was 99, I think, 98 or 99. And I helped build that market. So I keep saying, I'm retired. And they go, no, you've got to come back for our celebration. How can I resist? Australia and New Zealand. So I am going there in January. And then February, my husband and I are taking off in our trailer. We have a trailer and that we pull, and we're going to go visit a bunch of national parks and hike national parks. So, that might not be your dream of retirement or what you want to do. And honestly, it wasn't mine 20 years ago. I didn't know I would, I met Edna Northrup, and she changed my life. She said, Collette, if you start hiking, it will change your life, and it has. So there's nothing we enjoy doing more than hiking in the forest. And anyway, that's what I'm doing. So I've taken too much time. I need to ask some questions. Go ahead.
No, this is phenomenal. And can we end the webinar with just some advice you have for the people that are watching and the people that will be watching on the recording as well? What could you leave us with that can help us continue when it's hard, persevere, and do it with joy? What's some final words you can give us?
Oh, wow. Let's see. It's going to be hard. It is going to be hard. But don't take those no's personally. I used to take I used to take it personally when someone would say no. This isn't for me. I would think they were saying no to me and not no to, because I actually said no to my brother for 2 years. And then something clicked. The timing changed for me. You really, it's true what they say. You can drag people, but you can drag a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. That is really true. But you know what? You can have a sugar cube in your hand. You can share your heart. You can find out what's important to them, and you can find these connections with them. If you build relationships, regardless of what the outcome of that is. In other words, they might get involved with you and they might not. I still have a lot of people who are not involved in USANA. Most of them have at least received it as gifts from me and so forth. But I've also, over the last 25 years, I've had so many people who originally said no to me come back because their circumstances changed. And I didn't shut the door on that relationship. So people are way more important than the business. They really are. My brother taught me that when he said, Collette, forget USANA as a business, but let's get Charlie on these products. And by the way, most of you probably know Charlie ended up having a double lung heart transplant. Maybe you don't know, but she had a double lung heart transplant. It will be 6 years in February. I mean, USANA has been, we have to be careful about what we claim. But the fact that she is alive and thriving is such a testimony to this company. So I can't put a price tag on what USANA has given me. And when I hike with this beautiful daughter of mine, I always tell Dr. Wentz, I can't thank you enough. I don't have the words to thank you enough. So anyway, if you can get USANA in you, not just something you take, but just get it in you and realize how it can change your life and how it can bless the lives of people you know, then stay consistent, build with joy and love, build relationships. People will come back. They really will. And many of them might just be product users. And you know what? That's fine. Do you know I still have people, it's been almost 25 years for me. I still have people on auto order that they signed up, but because we didn't have a PC, preferred customer program back then, but they let me know they weren't going to build a business. They just wanted to be able to get the products at wholesale. They're still on the products. They've never built a business, but you know what? That's fine. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that they're still on auto order. Imagine how solid that makes your business. Anyway, you're with a fabulous team. You've got an incredible organization there, an incredible upline, but really look in the mirror and go, hey, baby, it is up to me. Thank you for letting me be on, Jared. I love that you do these half-hour calls, but someone has to do this to me because I get kind of excited about USANA still after 25 years. I'm passionate about it.
Colette, I love your tips. I love your to-do list from 1999. I love your stories, especially about Charlie and Lexi and that time of your life. Thank you for sharing the ups and downs and all the things that you went through. And you know, there's so much value into this video that I'm going to have to rewatch it again, and I want to encourage everyone to rewatch it as well. And thank you for just taking time out of your day. I know that you have so much going on, and you're again, you have such a great, awesome life, and thank you for sharing that, because that gives us all the fuel when we're building our business. And it makes me think also about the blessings that USANA has given me that are worth more than money as well. Not the money's important as well, but the family and the health that we have is tremendous. And thank you for being a great friend and really sewing into us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Jared. It's been my pleasure. Love to all of you, and happy holidays.
Yes, let's go ahead and unmute the lines and everyone say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Let's go ahead and unmute the line.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Colette.
Colette.
Bye. Thank you, Colette.
Love to all of you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.